This is a specific tutorial on how to do your tree trunk and tree branches, and this can be used for revising your sketches that we have previously created in order to make your trees just kind of look a little bit more satisfying, a little bit more realistic, although they don't have to be super realistic if you do not want them to be. So first things first, I do have my tree trunk that is sketched here. The tree trunk starts off the page and then connects to my my focal point area right here. Remember, this focal point can be a patch of sky, it could be a sun, a moon. I am not going to make it actually connect like it does right now. A little bit later on, I am going to change this area, but the whole reason why I connected both sides of my tree trunk here to my focal point was to create leading lines and to create that extreme perspective, like we're underneath these trees looking upward. Okay, so that was kind of the purpose of, connecting the tree trunk lines to my focal point area right there, whatever it happens to be. Now, as of right now, I have my tree trunk here. I have sketched it out lightly. I hope that you all can see it. The reason for the light lines is because I want to be able to erase and revise these sketches as we go along. Okay, so most likely I'm going to do some lines I don't like. I'm going to have to erase them, and it's easier to erase if you have them drawn lightly. Okay, so there's that. Now, last class period, we talked a little bit about the difference between a line and a shape. So let me just share that with you real quick. Once we have our tree trunk here, which is our largest part of our tree, we have these branches that kind of will go off from the tree trunk itself and extend upward toward the sun. All right. And so what we have to do is, rather than draw them like lines, which most kids would kind of like gravitate toward just drawing a tree branch like this, drawing it as a line itself will not allow you to fill it in with color later on. And as you guys know, we're doing this in oil pastel, so we want to be able to fill in our tree trunk or tree branches with oil pastel. So what we're going to do is create these branches as a shape. Okay, so a shape is a space enclosed by line. This actually kind of looks like a roadway. So think of your branches as like these roadways that connect to the tree trunk. And this is definitely something that can fill in with, we can fill in with color. Okay, you'll also notice that with these things that I have drawn, this Y shape or this V shape, if you will, this is a typical structure of tree branches. Not all tree branches have this structure, but most tree branches are angular, okay? Meaning they have straight lines connected to another straight line, which can create a point like this. Some students are drawing them kind of like this, okay, where they're curved and wondering why it kind of looks a little bit funky. All right, and the answer is just because it's a curved line. Now, believe it or not, there are trees that have branches like this. So if you are okay with the look of this, I am okay with it as well. All right, so we're going to sketch these out as shapes rather than lines. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, because this is bothering me, and I didn't start my last tutorial this way, is I am going to create a divide in my tree trunk up here. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is maybe about 3/4 the way up, I'm going to split this, actually maybe a little bit further down. I'm going to split this into two, kind of like this. And I'm going to erase this top part. These lines right up here. I'm going to create a V shape near the top. There we go. And I'm erasing it down to the point of my V. Okay. You can actually make this come down a little bit deeper if you so choose. And this will allow the branches of my tree trunk to kind of splinter out a little bit later on. Okay. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to create a series of branches that come off from the side. So I have my tree trunk right here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to create a series of shapes. Now, a couple of things. Branches typically grow up towards the sun, all right? And so what we want to do is have these go upward rather than outward, although they will go up and out. So if you just make yours go out and down, that's not growing toward the sun. So we want to make these kind of go upward as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my first branch out off of the tree trunk. I'm going to draw a line that is parallel to it. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up. And what I'm going to go ahead and do from here is I'm going to start to branch it out. So I'm going to draw a V shape. And I'm going to draw it. Notice it is not super open, right? It's kind of a narrow V shape because I want these branches to go outward just a little bit rather than split off completely like this. So I'm going to make it a narrow V shape, and I'm going to bring up my lines on either side. Okay. And then from here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is do the exact same thing I just did. So I'm going to create a V shape. And the length, the angle and the length of your V shape will determine how your, what direction your branches go. If this V shape here that you're sketching is very small, meaning like the length of it is not very long, you're going to have these like little knobby tree hands, okay, for your branches, which is great too. I appreciate that. And as you go up, see how I'm keeping this branch is thick. This one's a little bit thinner. This one's a little bit thinner than that. You want to keep that structure. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and close these off because I'm done with these branches. So see how narrow that is? This is a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. I'm going to create a V shape here, bring it up and end it. Okay, and I'm going to do really quickly. Okay, so I have this side of my tree branches that are done. Now, let's come back to this V that I made in the middle. So this, if you look at some tree trunks from time to time, you'll notice that it's split into two. The trunk is split into two as it kind of grows. So something that you might want to do, just to kind of create a more realistic view of your tree, is we're going to treat these as two separate branches. Okay, so I'm going to start branching this one off. I may not do very much, so I'm going to bring up a line on either the side to kind of create this roadway. I'm going to create a V shape here, bring it up, another V shape, bring it up, end it. Okay, so I have this kind of as a branch as well. I'm going to bring this side up here. So I have another roadway. Bringing this up. It's getting thin. Adding a V, bringing it up. One thing I didn't do in my last video is anytime you're done with your branch and you're at the very narrow part, just kind of end it by bringing it to a point. And then I'm going to do one branch that kind of goes this way. All right, so I'm going to bring this off of my trunk this way. Going to bring this line up, right? Create a shallow V. I'm going to create a shallow V just because I'm running out of room here. So anytime you create a V, you have to bring your lines up on either side to match. I'm going to make these go off the paper because I can. There we go. All right, so this is kind of my weird looking tree. I'm cool with this. So right now what I want you guys to do is to double check your drawing for the following, okay? And these things are all things that will make an impact on your drawing. So first things first, are your branches like roadways? Okay, meaning you could take your finger and kind of drive on the roadway. There's no roadblocks. Okay, no lines that would interrupt your finger as you go through. If you can do that, if there is a line, like what I mean is like, is there a line that goes like this, where you're like, up, stop, erase it. If you encounter a roadblock, okay, which would be a line like that, erase that, because that doesn't allow that branch to continue if you have that line there, okay? So look for roadblocks. Also look for lines versus shapes, right? So your branches shouldn't just be a line like this, okay? This we can't fill in. We want a shape, a space enclosed by line, something that looks like a roadway, right? That you could take your finger and just kind of make it good, kind of follow that, all right? The next thing I do want you guys to look for, so look along with me at your drawing. The direction of your branches, do they kind of go upward, okay? If they just go outward or go downward, all right? Most trees don't grow in that direction, meaning downward with the branches. So most kind of go up and outward ever so slightly, okay? So check where you're going with your branches. Are they going upward toward the sun? All right, next, think about the width of these. Okay, so check the width for me. Every branch that goes off of the tree trunk should have, should be thicker in the branch that just connects it to the tree trunk. And then the next one should get thinner, the next one should get thinner, the next one should get thinner. Okay, so let me check this one right here. So thicker, a little bit thinner, a little bit thinner, a little bit thinner. All right, this one thick, a little bit thinner, a little bit thinner, a little bit thinner. All right, if yours, as you follow with your finger, if yours gets thicker, decrease the width of it, okay? Because that'll make it look really funky, all right, otherwise. And then also consider the length of your branches, okay? So remember how wide you create those V's, okay? So the angle of the V's, you want to kind of create them, make them narrow. And also if you just do a little V like this and bring it up, that's going to be a little tiny little branch, okay? So you want to make the length of these V's. That'll give you a longer branch, right? So if you make it short, you're going to have a short branch. If you make it long, you're going to have a long branch, all right? And then also think too, if you have something that's angular versus curved, and keep in mind, either of these are okay, but some kids get a little freaked out. If you want your branches to look more realistic, you're gonna want straight lines that kind of come to a point, something that's a little bit more angular. If you're creating something like this is cool too. It just gives it a completely different feel, okay? So you're going to go ahead and just check your drawing, and I will give you some feedback on it.